Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch.
Louder.
Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch.
Tell them what you did.
I broke a watch.
How?
I was trying to modify it and I didn't do it very well and I had to take it to a watchmaker to get it fixed.
What kind of watch was it?
It was a Seiko.
A Seiko? Don't you think you should apologise?
I'm sorry.
Not to me, to them.
I'm sorry.
Yes, that's right, I f***ed my Seiko. This video should have been called something quite different. It should have been called Radical Seiko Mods, featuring your intrepid narrator sailing effortlessly through a suite of modifications on this already pre-modded but rather badly pre-modded 7002. But it just didn't quite happen that way. I got the watch that I wanted in the end. I think the end result looks fantastic, but it certainly took its time and there were a few hiccups, shall we say, en route. Couple of thank yous to begin with. Thank you to Dr. Jason. I got this watch from a friend of mine up in Brisbane in a trade in late 17. As noted, pre-modified there. Oh, pretty ugly dial on this one though, but the watch looked good. I felt I had plenty of scope to turn it into something a little more interesting. Thanks also to Damien at JOMW Watches. He gave me a discount on some of the parts that I needed for this one. The high domed sapphire crystal you can see there, various hands and so on. Thanks also to Larry at Uncle Seiko. He was kind enough to supply me with a razor wire bracelet for this one. You'll see how I go adjusting that later on. And this being JOMW, I was going to do it all using the bare minimum of rather poor quality tools that I have picked up over the years on eBay. And it all started fairly well. I hadn't taken the back off this one before, but because it'd been pre-modded, a 20-odd-year-old watch, it wasn't actually that hard. Back came off nicely and the movement inside looked sweet. I'd had an app running on this one. It was running at about +10, so I thought the movement was good. You know, the watch deserved some modifications. The crown comes out of these ones in a rather similar fashion to other Seikos. There's a little lever you need to depress and then you just pop the crown straight out. Quick wiggle with the bourgeon to release the movement there and pop it straight into a movement holder. Not really bothered about dust today because the hands and the dial etc. is all coming off this one. So get it in the movement holder and then extract those hands. And this is where I made the first of my mistakes. What am I doing taking the hands off at 10:10? There's a date function in this watch. I ended up having to put the hands back on later on, ensuring that the date was turning over at midnight. So that was my first mistake then, removing the hands without doing it at a set position at the midday, for example. But off they went, and the next step was to release the dial feet, a couple of screws holding the dial feet attached, flip the watch over and remove the dial, and it came off no problem at all. Now I left the date wheel on and I put my gloves on. Hallelujah, at least I was doing something right. Now this radical orange looking dial I picked up from a seller on eBay in the Philippines. Just a cheapo. The lume is okay, but nothing to write home about. It was for the 7002 though, hence the 150 meters water resistance, so at least the dial matches the watch. Right, onto the hands, and I had a couple of different sets of hands available to me. Kind of traditional Seiko ones on the right there in gold, and we've got just fence post ones in black. I thought of initially using the gold ones, and you'll see these are the ones that I end up putting onto the watch. However, that didn't quite go to plan and I end up with the black fence posts. So I got the hour and minute hand on okay, but it was the second hand that I made a proper arse of. I was just a little bit too rough with it and I ended up crushing the pinion. In the footage that you see here, the second hand is spinning, but it wasn't properly seated and it necessitated the involvement of Brian. Hello Brian. Brian is my local watchmaker. He is a very pleasant Irishman and runs this little shop in Newtown in Sydney, so I took the watch into him. He's got a contact who deals in old Seiko parts and he was able to find me a replacement pinion for the 7002's movement. Now I am missing a little bit of footage because I was able to squeeze that high dome sapphire crystal in by myself. Didn't do too badly a job of it either. Glued the chapter ring in place first and then squeezed the crystal in with my crystal press on top of that. So here's the watch back from Brian and I think it looks pretty good. Those black fence post hands actually look nicely proportioned when it fits in the case. And the high dome sapphire crystal I think works a treat. Pretty radical amount of distortion to go with my radical looks. I do have one confession though. There's a little ball and spring that operates the 60-click bidirectional bezel in these ones, and I've lost it. I do have one on order, but I couldn't be bothered waiting for that one to arrive to make the video. So what I'm going to do, a couple of different bezel choices. I initially thought of using that stealth one that I'd used in a previous Vostok mod. However, when I put this bright orange ceramic one in, I thought, oh no, this is the one you want here, Jody. The shiny ceramic I think goes very well with the high dome. So what I'm going to do just for the video today is I'm going to use a tiny little bit of hypo cement. I'm going to glue it in place, meaning that when the new ball and spring arrive, I can easily pop it off, insert the ball and spring to operate the bezel, and then properly seat that ceramic bezel insert once the bezel is back in place properly. But for today, a little bit of hypo cement just to show you what the finished article will look like. Okay, onto the Uncle Seiko razor wire bracelet to finish this one off. These were pretty hot about a year ago. It shows you how long I've been sitting on all these parts. I believe I started all these mods back in May, so it's taken me a while to get this one together. Peel all the stickers off here. Now, being sensible, once bitten, or at least twice bitten I think in this case, I looked at Patrick Marlette. He did a guide on how to size this one. Not easy because there are 8 little discs in the middle lengths there that you need to align properly. But with a little bit of patience and a little bit of know-how, this one's sized up no problem at all actually. So I decided to take out a couple of links on the one side using one of these link remover tools. These are just another cheapo eBay tool. I pay a couple of dollars for these and they always do a pretty decent job for me. No problems there getting these ones undone. And then I very carefully removed the pins, trying to disrupt the pattern as little as possible. Move those 2 links out of the way and then gently teased the little discs apart, keeping that V-shaped pattern, squeezed them back together again, pin went in, job's a good one. This is one of these bracelets that I think could be a total nightmare if you don't have a bit of an idea what you're doing with it before you start. Bracelet successfully sized then, it's time to get it on the watch. Hollow end links, these bracelets are designed to go on the SKX, but the 7002 essentially same case as the SKX, so no problem fitting it on the older model. I used to have one of Larry's beads of rice on this watch before it went in for this raft of mods, so I knew there'd be no problem there at all. And that's it. Super flexible, these razor wires, very comfortable in operation. And there's the finished article. All's well that ends well, I think. A little bit of purple AR on that big high dome. Goes very nicely with the shiny ceramic bezel and the radical razor wire, I think, finishing off that look. Really transformed. It was a long road to get here, but I think well worth it in the end. I'm pretty pleased with how the watch turned out. I think it was just about what I had envisaged in the first place. Super comfy on wrist, looks and feels very much like an SKX, and that razor wire, so much flexibility, but it doesn't actually nip the hairs on your arms, which is a real bonus. 43 diameter, you know, a little bit large for what I normally wear, but radical, go big or go home. Look at that profile, the domed sapphire sitting proudly as well, and you get that great little pop of distortion as you angle the watch. Looks good outside in natural light as well. Really, this one all about the shiny surfaces and the distortion from that domed sapphire crystal. Looks very good indeed. So maybe another 2 weeks until the final little part arrives, that ball and spring as noted. I'll pop the bezel off, glue the insert in properly once I'm done. And the Seiko 7002 project that began in my head anyway in late 17, started in earnest in May 2018, will finally be finished probably about 12 months later. So lessons learned as always. Don't force it. If it feels like you're forcing it, you probably are, and you're probably going to break it. And if you're an amateur bodger / modder like I am, make friends with your local watchmaker, because you're probably going to need somebody like Brian every once in a while. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope I don't f*** it up.